Well, hello everybody and welcome to the XD Challenge. I'm your host, Jesse Showalter. We got people jumping into the chat because this is a live event that's happening. It's a live challenge. So if you're watching it on the replay, good for you. You can watch tons of replays, but always try to join us for the live show because that's a whole lot of fun. Because Laura Staniva's having fun. Timothy Blalik's in the chat. Wenda is in the chat, as well as Fergie. Sam Peterson's moderating and a whole bunch of other folks. What is the XD Challenge? Well, it is all sorts of fun, and you can find more about it over at behance.net/challenge/XD. Hit that big blue button, sign up and get your starting files. You can also get them down in the description of this video, but you also can scroll all the way down the bottom and chat with us in the community. That's the XD Discord server where you can post your work and get feedback, find friends, all that fun stuff. And you're definitely going to be able to post your work. Speaking of work, let's jump right in to the work. Here's our starting file for the day, and our prompt is to maximize our space with a collapsible sidebar that can be used kind of as a project dashboard. I got some inspirations down there for you, as well as the resource booklet made out of component states and instances. So feel free to grab that stuff. But I already have a little bit of a starting project going in here with a little bit of character style and a color palette that you can see right over here. So we'll be working with that. And I have the start to kind of a dashboard project. Now we're not going to build out the full dashboard, but I just can't look at that blank screen. So why don't we really quickly just hit rectangle like this? And I'm going to just draw out a couple of cards. Why don't we just add a little bit of border radius to this thing? And let's just do like 4, maybe 8. Beautiful. We'll turn the border of it off. All right, and you can imagine a dashboard full of all sorts of little widgets and cards and fun stuff. Let's add a little drop shadow here, and I'm actually going to pull from our dark blue color and bring it way down to something like 6%. I'll take my y-axis and drop it down, and then my blur and pump it up a little bit, and then we'll go back. We'll play with a little bit of that opacity, maybe down to something like 4%. Hey, that's a good style to start putting some stuff in. As far as the dashboard goes, why don't we just drag this over? And these are not going to be perfect by any means, but why don't we do something like this? We will, we'll do some like asymmetrical stuff in here. I'm also going to grab a rectangle, and I'm going to take the rounded borders off. And this guy right here, I'll take the border off. I'm going to slap it all the way down to the bottom, and I'm going to hit I for my eye picker, and I'll grab this kind of neutral color. And you could imagine some sort of little sidebar happening over there, and you got a couple little widget cards going on up here, and maybe you got like some sort of other panel down here. And I think that's all we'll do. You can see that's kind of the starts to our dashboard, okay? But what we really want to focus on, hello over there to Laura Staniva, and Umacorn's back in the chat, always hanging out with us. Let me know in the chat what your favorite type of food is. I'd love to know that because I'm a big fan of tacos. I'm a big fan of pizza. And if I had to pick a healthy thing, let's go with a Cobb salad. I'm gonna do that. All right, so we have our sidebar here that's made out of a big rectangle and a fake logo and a bunch of icons, and what we want to do is be able to collapse our sidebar in and out, right? So first thing we're gonna need to do is probably create some sort of tab or button or something where we can actually collapse this thing. So why don't we do that first? I'm gonna hit R for rectangle and just draw a little rectangle out here. And I'm going to fill it with my main color. All right, this is kind of like my primary color. I'm going to round the edges here and just pull this in. And this is going to be a little bit like my little pull tab kind of deal. We'll just put that right in the very center. That works. I like it. I like it. I'm going to pull this over. We don't need to be so big. But what we're going to do is I'm going to open up my layers panel by hitting Command Y. I'm going to hit my little tab and my entire background shape there. I'm going to go to my Pathfinder, my Boolean operations, whatever you want to call them. I'm going to add them together and turn them into one shape, just like that, okay? And then I'm going to, I could make my own arrow because arrows aren't that hard to make. But I could also just get one from like a little app that I use called Nucleo to store all of my icons in it. Let's see if it loads. It is gonna load, and we'll type the word arrow right there. What do we get? Let's jump up to like 24 pixels. Let's take something like, let's jump up a little bit more actually and just do outlined versions of these. Sure, let's go. I feel like I'm being really picky about my arrow right now. Let's just take a normal chevron, shall we? Okay, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna drag it onto my screen. I could have made that in a lot faster than it took me to find it. I'll tell you. You ever make a bad a bad life choice? That was it right there for me. Oh man, did I made a bad choice there by searching for it. All right, so I'm gonna take that. I need it to have like a little bit more tappable area, so I'm just gonna hit rectangle like so, and I'm gonna move it right there. Let's just make it black really quickly so we can see it. Good, awesome, excellent. I'm just gonna bring it in, and then I'm going to bring the opacity of these down, grab the tappable area and the arrow, group it together, and call it my tap point. Okay, now why I like to do that is because now there's something a little bit bigger to tap, and we can animate it as our menu goes in and out. We'll switch the little arrow around, we'll rotate it. That'll be kind of nice. So that's saying, hey, we could push it in if we'd like to. I don't like the placement of that arrow or that little tab, but that's all right. I'm not going to be super picky about it. Let's create some menu items here, right? This one can be called home, and we don't like this text. We actually had Command-Shift-Y to our document assets. A little bit of a character style setup using Montserrat, which is a little cleaner for an interface like this. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, so why don't we grab the icon and the text, and I'm going to line it up here. Yeah, that could work. And what I'm going to do is I have some sort of spacing between the text and the icon, and that's good, but I'm going to make this be able to be auto height text. I'm going to drag the bounding box of this out in case my text like gets a little bit bigger. I want it to be able to fit. I don't want it to do anything funky. I want to control it. That's what I want to do. So I'm going to press I'm going to grab both of my elements here. I'm going to group them together, and then I think I might as well turn on a stack. It has about 16 pixels of padding in between my elements. You can see that little pink highlight there, that's showing my padding. I can also always come in and change that manually if I want to, but 16 works. I like that. Okay, so, and also a little fun little fact, you can hold down the tilde key on your keyboard, and that'll allow you to manually kind of zip it in and out, change the spacing. But that works. Okay, now with that being done, let's create a component. Actually, I've changed my mind. I don't want stacks on. I want to be able to mess with these without worrying about the stack too much. Okay, this thing is going to be called nav item. And actually, before you know what, get this out of here. Get that out of that folder. We don't want that, because when I'm about to make a component, I don't like to have the component inside of a folder, inside of the component. You'll see what I'm talking about. I'm going to press Command K on this, and we've created our component. Now, what do we call it? Name this master component. We're going to name it nav item, like so. You can see in I'm going to turn this to my grid. I actually have a little component here. Let's call it nav item right there. Beautiful. Okay, great. So now I can drag out more nav items. We see that. Okay, that could work out good for us. And we can place them like so. Now I should be able to X out my little icon there. Type or just paste in another one. Let's go back here and get that thing out. Okay, beautiful. Okay, we like it. We like it a lot. Boom. Like so. Okay, now we should be able to line these up. Fun little, maybe fun, a little helper for you. I actually need some sort of alignment tool. So I'm going to bring in a little guide here to make sure that all of my things are just lining up relatively close to the way that I want them, right? Maybe like the center of my icon and the edge of my text. This gives me a little space to work, all right? Okay, so with that being said, I have my component here, and you can always tell the difference between a master component and an instance. The master has this little closed green triangle. The instance will have the open kind of like white triangle or diamond. Let's go with diamond. Let's act like I didn't say triangle when that's actually a diamond. Let's do that. And we are going to want to add a new instance or a state. Okay, excuse me, a state. So we have the normal state. We need the collapsed state. So let's do this. We're going to create a new state, not hover or toggle, but new, and we'll call this collapsed. You guessed it. We're going to take the text that's inside. Let's zoom out a little bit and just scroll down so we can see some of the things we're doing here. I'm going to bring the opacity of it down after I bring it over like that. Whoop. just like so. Okay, so we have again, we can click on default state and the collapse state. Okay, not a crazy change, but when we auto animate, you'll see everything kind of shift in, shift out, and we'll do that with an artboard animation between the two states of the artboards where things collapse, and we just change the states of each one of those component states. So we'll do this. Now, the hard part about our component states, and I'm sure there's going to be an update about this or on this at some point in XD, guaranteed, is we would like to be able to make a change out here to an instance here in the default state and then have it be recursive through the other states. We'd like that, but it's not how it's working right now, but it's going to get there, promised. So let's call this something like, I don't know, sheets or documents or something like that. And when we grab our icon, we can go back to our other state there. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can just paste and we get it right in the same spot. Delete our home right out of there. Now the hard part is you'd probably want to come in here and change this one to also say sheets. I do love this though. If you hide something with opacity text specifically and start retyping or like click into that text field, it's going to bring it up for you so you can see it. Okay. So let's just really quickly, let's bring these back to both of their default states. And let's get an idea of what it's going to look like once we collapse, because that's where the magic's going to happen. And I want you to see it a little bit. Or maybe we'll just let's keep going with this. We'll do a few more. We don't have to do a lot, but we'll do a few more here. Okay. I'm going to command and semicolon to turn my guides on and off. That's a good one to remember. It's a great little hotkey there. And let's see, my icons were originally something like 30 pixels apart. So let's honor that spacing, something like 30 pixels apart, like that. Okay. I'm going to move this over to the side and I'm going to bring this down to be about, you guessed it, 30 pixels away. Now, if I was real smart, and I'm kind of smart, but I'm not real smart, but later on, I'm going to put these in a stack so I can mix and match them, and there'll be components with states. It's going to be super rad. Okay. I'm going to take my little paper clip, zoom in to our initial state here, pop it right there, delete this. I'm gonna grab that little thing. I'm gonna rename this to be like attachments, something like that. Then we'll click on the component state, boop, right out there, paste it right where it belongs, and we'll fix this thing up. So it says attachments. Okay, you do get wonky results. If you change spelling, you'll see the word flicker as it's auto animating. We don't want that. Let's do one more and we'll forget the rest for now. Okay, we'll do this one right here. Our camera, we're going to exit out of the way. 30 pixels away, you bet. We're gonna do that and pop it right in. Let's just make sure it's lined up nicely. Got that nice little smart snapping guides inside. And then let's do like photos, something like that. Have you ever built a dashboard interface? I'd love to know in the chat. Dashboards have all sorts of unique challenges. I really like doing dashboards. I've done a couple in my time for some clients. They are a lot of fun. They can be tricky though, because it's about a lot of little details here there. Let's do one more because I'm digging it. I want to see lots of collapsing happening. I'm going to X this out, and you guessed it, do the same process and pull this in. When we do interface work for clients, it's a lot about these little details, these little interactions that make the difference. Notifications like that. Cool. So I'm going to copy that really quickly. Why don't we get rid of the camera and switch over? See this workflow? It's working for us. We're digging it. I'm going to come in here. Yeah, just like so. And I missed my icon. I forgot my notifications icon. That has a little notification bubble on it, by the way, saying that you should check your notifications. Let's pop that in there and get rid of the other two. It's looking good, and then we'll swap it back. Okay, so now everything is lined up. You can see even our guides are telling us everything's lined up nicely. We like that. Let's do one more little kind of a custom one. We'll break out of the mode, so to speak, of using instance or components and instances. Hit E for ellipse. We got to do a little avatar down at the bottom. Let's make actually the border white with a 1 pixel stroke, and then I have an image here for the fill. We'll just pop pop our model inside our avatar. And remember, you can always double click inside, because when you bring an image in like that, it's naturally masking it out. It just does it organically for us. So that works pretty good. Let's drop some text down there. T for text on my keyboard. And let's see, Laura Staniva, you are in the chat, so your name is going into the project. And Command Shift Y, let's go over to our character styles, make it match. I'm going to bring down a second, and we'll do Laura at stanivadesign.com, something like that. That is not Laura's email. Making things up right now, just so you know. And we'll bring the opacity of it down just a little bit, so it's kind of a secondary action. I'm going to group both these together and center it with my avatar. I'm going to group that whole thing together, and then let's go back to our layers panel. Now we have, you can see, whoop, whoop, and here's these fellows right there. Good. Okay, we want to group that whole thing together. We want to name this thing our avatar, or let's name it user or profile or something better. Let's just name it user. That's easy. All right, so we're going to do that switch, and you're actually going to see the difference between component instance swaps, right, in between our artboards, and just having a grouping of elements together and swapping those things out instead. So I like what we're doing here. I like how we're kind of rocking. Let's take our dashboard and come over here. We'll call this dashboard open, and we'll call this, dashboard sidebar closed or collapsed, whatever you want to call it. All right, so now we're going to do the collapse state. And let's start with our, actually, let's start with our shape, shall we? Let's do this. I'm going to grab the shape itself. For some reason, the 3D transforms came on. We don't need that right now. We're just going to work with that initial rectangle, right? So first off, let's grab this fella and, ooh, yes. Okay, this is going to be challenging. Let's grab just that background rectangle. We'll collapse it in like so. That'll kind of center it a little bit. It might be imperfect, but that's okay. Then we're going to grab the other shape and whoop, we'll just pull that in like so. Okay, great. And then somewhere was our little tap point, right? Let's move our little tap point in as well. Okay, now we have serious más problemas up here. We need to push this over, and we need to bring the opacity down. And remember, don't forget our tap point. Let's grab our icon and pop it out like that. Okay, so now you're able to kind of like pop that back out. Again, I don't like the alignment of this. It's kind of, I would move this little tap point down, probably something like that, as well as our little shape so it lines up with the icon. That's probably what you need there. And then before we go getting crazy here, we got to take each one of these and move them to the collapsed state. Okay, so we're kind of using artboard transitions, component instances. Let's do this one, and we're going to kind of customize it the way that we want it. So let's move our avatar kind of in the middle, and you know, we can move that over, and as it's moving over, it just disappears. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. We like it, we dig it. But we had a weird issue here on this component instance. We need the paperclip to go away. That's my fault. Wow, watch out now. And we want to make sure we fix that over here too, because boy, oh boy, we don't want that little attached paperclip messing us up, right? We want a nice transition. Now, if we were really cool, we might think about making our dashboard responsive, right? How does it become responsive? Well, we're going to push some of these little blocks over, and the whole thing would get responsive. Our client is going to love that. They're going to be so excited. Okay. Let's see. Is there, Lay McGinnis says, is there a shortcut / hotkey to rename a duplicated layer so I don't have to click in the layer panel or rename? I don't think so. I don't know of one right now. But I mean, hopefully, hopefully something like that will come out, but that would be nice. I would also like that. Okay. All right, so let's do a little bit of prototyping here as we're getting close to the end of our challenge. We want to hit that tap point. See why I make the tap points? Because it's easier. All right. And then, excuse me, I'm going to cough right over there. And I'm going to grab that tap point. I'm going to drag it over. I'm going to say on tap. We want to auto animate to sidebar closed. And let's do, and wind up, bounce, snap. Let's go just ease into it. Let's do that. Pretty snappy, 0.3. We like that, we're into it. And then we'll go back the other way and we should get a pretty nice little interaction. Let's see if we broke it at all. I'm gonna press home, that little home thing. I'm gonna name my flow. I'm gonna call this collapse. I'm gonna press play and I'm gonna get some things out of the way so I could just focus on the results here. What do we get? What do we get? Put it right there. Are you guys ready to see if this thing works? And collapse it. Pretty nice. Okay, I think it works. It's not super fancy. It's not amazing. There's a few things I would fix. What would I fix? This little name right here is going over. I'd have it go under the icon. That's an easy fix. What else would I fix? You know, I might also do a little something different with the avatar down there. Like, I think that name just needs to disappear as it is animating in and out. But I like the expanding and the responsiveness of our blocks right here. That's actually kind of nice as well. But so far, just for our little thing there, it's actually kind of cool. It's a fun little interaction, all right? So we're gonna move back over and let's do something before we go. We have our flow that we've created. We haven't done this yet on one of our challenges during our sessions. Let's go ahead and share this. And if you're not used to using share inside of Adobe XD, that's the third little panel you got there. You got design, prototype, share. That's our workflow, right? We design, prototype, share. And when we're on share, we can create some different options here. Watch out now. We can, we're gonna choose which link we want. So if we have multiple flows, we're gonna make sure we have that flow like selected. That's the thing we're gonna choose. And you have some different options here. So you have design review. That's basically just, they're gonna be able to play with this. It's gonna create a link interactively, just like they would in XD. Now, if we give it a development share, they're also going to get a little bit of that inspect mode where they get to download the assets, color palette, typography, font selection, all that. Presentation is optimized for that. We can have some testing or we can create a custom one. I tell you what, let's hand off for development here and say anybody with the link, and we'll click it and it's going to go ahead and generate the link for us pretty fast because this is a pretty small interaction. Let's click that link and it'll open up our browser, and in our browser, we get, look, here's the interactive prototype. It's ready for development, which means, look, we can head over right here and hit inspect mode. And we do that, we get colors, we get measurements. Okay, this is our spec mode. And look, there's all of our colors for our developers, right? There is all of our character styles. You can even see the interaction and click on it. And it's gonna go ahead and do it for us, which is really, really cool. And the size of the artboard, and your developers can switch these up from hex to RGB, from pixels down to points and DPs, which is densal pixity measurement there. And so lots of different options. And then they can also leave some feedback here, and they can pin and say like, hey, that part looks funky. That's funky. Right? And then they could submit it and we can get some nice interaction with our development teams. And so that's how we build a little bit of a collapsing sidebar for our dashboard projects. But let's look at some of your projects that you've submitted over the last day or two. We got this one from Arif. I'm going to open this other one from Abernail, and let's go up a little further. This one, let's go. This one looks really good too, from Amulia Jonala. We're going to look at these each as a Behance project. This is the CryptoBank web experience with some loading animation. Let's just load it up and see how it looks. A nice fade in, and swoop out a little. Whoa, that thing was powerful. And I like that he swooped in, or he animated in a moving Lottie animation, right? So it's amazing the different like recipes you can mix and match, but that was a fun little interaction. I'd say, you know, watch the delays and the speed just to give you a little like feedback. But I think overall, I like how this whole layout and design looks. I think it's beautiful. Let's do another one. See if we can get the live prototype here. Look at the loading animation here. It goes down together, pop, 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 all up like that. Looked beautiful. Love the layout. Super fun. The little 3D characters and the interaction was a ton of fun as well. Last one for the day. And don't worry if your work isn't reviewed now. We're going to get lots of feedback. They mimicked my glitch effect, which I found out how I did it. It's just how you stagger where the mask goes. You could do it multiple times, get a really fun glitch effect. Look, let's do it again. Glitch up or down and back up. and all the little pieces come into play. Ah, very nice. This one was submitted by Amelia Jonala. Very nice work, and very nice work to all of you for joining along for the XD challenge. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you've had a great time in these challenges. Join me right here, same time, same place for tomorrow's XD challenge. Submit your files to Behance. Submit your files over to the Discord server so we can check them out. We will see you tomorrow.